Greetings, everyone. This is the New Ulm Forum. Welcome to the New Ulm Forum. My name is Ruth Ann Webster. I'm with the League of Women Voters, and we've got a really fabulous interview today. I'm interviewing a relatively new firefighter, Dave Widener, and our longtime service fire chief, Paul Mako. So let's get started. I'd like each of you to sort of introduce yourself to the audience. Tell where you're from. What do you tell a little bit about yourself.
So, as where I'm from, because I've lived all across the country, but I was born in El Paso, Texas.
Oh, okay.
And then over the course of different states, I ended up in Mankato for the majority of my life.
Uh-huh.
But
And now you're in New Ulm.
yeah.
Great.
Yep.
Great. And tell us what you do when you're not fighting fires.
So I work for a printing company, Taylor Corp. I
Okay.
run a printing press.
Okay, great. And you live in New Ulm.
Correct.
All right. Chief Mako, tell us about yourself.
Yeah, my name's Paul Mako. I've been with the fire department since 1985.
Okay.
So that's probably longer than some of my firefighters have been around. So yeah, I've been with the department for almost 40 years. I moved up through the ranks. I've been the chief since 2008. In 2015, it became a full-time job, and so I was fortunate enough to be a chief, not only on the volunteer side, but also on the career side.
Okay, good. Well, Paul, tell us 40 years ago, what drew you into wanting to serve as a firefighter?
Well, yeah, I think it was a number of things that that almost made it inevitable that I was going to be on the fire department. My dad had some friends that were on the fire department. Some of my friends' dads were on the fire department. And the old fire chief, Louis Lewinsky, lived right across the street from us. And then we had a fire when I think I was about 10 years old. So all those things, just kind of added up, and that's why I say it was almost inevitable.
Yeah. Right. My goodness. Well, Dave, how long have you been with the fire department, and what drew you in?
So I've been with the fire department about 3 to 4 years now. And what drew me in is honestly, ever since I was little, I've always wanted to be a firefighter. I've always loved it, In the various towns, I used to live in like Atlanta, New York, and the bigger towns, I'd always wake up to the sirens. And I'd always walk outside and I can see some of the action going on. It's always intrigued me. And honestly, I like the excitement of it. And it sounds kind of cheesy, but I like helping people and saving something for them.
Mm-hmm. What physical or educational requirements are in place for a firefighter in the New Ulm system?
So, as far as training, when I started my career in firefighting, it was a lot of online because of COVID happened. So I did everything online, and there's some Saturdays that you would go off to a different station and train. But it's really intensive. It requires a lot.
Mm-hmm.
It's like Tuesday and Thursday nights. I'd get home for work and then I'd study for a couple hours, and then we'd have about a 2-hour course on X, Y, and Z chapters.
Okay.
And we review them, and you have to take the test right after that. So it'd be 4 or 5 hours a night, and then you'd have to do chapter reviews and a bunch of studying in between. So it almost was a whole full-time job studying.
So there's a book.
Yeah.
Right?
It's
There's a course. There's a
Okay.
technical college course of firefighting 1001. It's a 154-hour course. It takes about 6 months. When you get done with the course, you'll be a certified firefighter 1, 2, and you'll have hazmat certification. That's through the state of Minnesota. And then after our firefighters are on for 3 years, then we also license them. It's kind of like a licensed peace officer. So that way, if any of them want to choose firefighting as a career, they have the same qualifications as a career firefighter.
Now, hazmat, that's hazardous material.
Correct.
Right? That's just
Correct.
so that you know. All right, and Yes, now, this is a volunteer operation, right? This is.
Yes.
Yep, okay. But as a volunteer, you do get paid, right?
Correct.
Can you tell me how that works?
Yeah, so it goes by call, not by hour. So by call, it's about $10. And then you get I believe it's a yearly stipend at the end of
Yeah.
the year, and it goes up X amount of percent, I believe, every year that you're in.
Firefighters are paid, currently are paid $10 per event, and the officers are paid $15 per event. So that accumulates over a year's time, and they'll get one check at the end of November. So,
What do you mean by event?
per call,
Okay.
and in order to be, for it to be a paid call, a truck has to be en route. You know, we get a lot of calls, you know, that'll say the fire alarm or the sprinkler alarm at such and such a building is going off. So everybody will try to get there. Well, if they call in and we get repaged for a cancel before a truck rolls, then it doesn't count. But once a truck rolls, then they get paid.
Okay. I asked about physical requirements. Is that part of the training, or is that separate?
Well, when they first get on, of course, we have them take a physical down at the clinic, and I think there's just a couple of extra things that they put in there to make sure they're agile enough to be a firefighter. And throughout the year, you know, we have a number of physical trainings that they have to go through. And,
Just had one recently.
yeah, and they have to complete them. So.
Well, tell me about that.
The recent one we had?
Yes.
Yeah, so you have to dress in all your gear, and it's give or take 80 pounds and you're breathing air the whole time. So you have to, for example, roll a hose out, and then you have to demonstrate, spray it, you know, do all the stuff, you know, hook it up to a fire hydrant. Then you have to crawl in confined space with all your gear. You can either take your pack off if it's easier for you, but it's pretty small, like tube. Don't know exactly how big it is, but it's big enough for me to fit in snug. Crawl through, and then you simulate a bunch of other things, but you're carrying a hose up the stairs, and then you have to simulate carrying a hose up with a rope, and then you have to tie it off, and then you go all the way back down. You have to climb up a ladder, and then you have to drag like a 180-pound dummy or 200-pound dummy X amount of feet, and then you're done, but you're timed on it and everything. But it all starts at the beginning when you don't have any of your gear on. Because in order to have your gear on, you should have it on within 90 seconds.
Oh, my goodness. All right.
So 60 seconds for your turnout gear, and then 30 seconds for your SCBA mask, and then
Right.
your tank.
Yeah. You're excited about stuff like this, I can tell that.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
I mean, I know it sounds terrible, but I get really excited when we get a page.
Okay.
I mean, of course, I want everyone to be safe.
Now, you said that you took this 154-hour class. And you learned everything that you needed to do to pass that test. How do you learn to do things like roll up a hose or carry a dummy down a stairs? How do you learn that?
So we have, over the course of those 6 months, I believe it's either every 2 or 3 Saturdays you have to sign up. And they have different departments you can go and visit that host it. So New Ulm, I believe, started doing that this year. But last year I had to drive, like, a lot of them were in North Mankato, but that's where you would learn, like, the first class is just putting on your gear, timing it so you know exactly what to do. And then it progresses to the different stages, like tying ropes.
Wow. What are the, are you obligated as a firefighter to put a certain number of hours in, or in addition to fire calls, which you called events, are there times when you've got meetings in the evening, or what are the time commitments?
Well, our schedule for training is the first Monday of the month is our business meeting. This is when we get together, we go over our calendar for the next month or 2 months or whatever, what things are scheduled. Then the first Wednesday of the month, the rescue squad meets, and then they'll go through the training that they need to go through. And then the following Wednesday, so it would be the second Wednesday, is usually drill night.
Okay.
And that's when the whole department, drills together. And then the third Monday of the month is what we call Operators Night. So each firefighter is assigned to a company, and that company has a vehicle, whether it's a engine company or a ladder company. So they go out and they operate that truck. Everybody needs to be able to operate that truck because we never know who's going to be the first to the station. And whoever drives the truck operates the truck. So everybody needs to be somewhat efficient at running the vehicle that they're assigned to. And then they do maintenance and all that stuff on that same night. So it's 4 nights out of the month that we meet.
Okay. Now, you talked about different companies. I know we've got 2 fire stations. Is that the same or different than the 2 companies?
Well, what happens is when you get on the department, you get assigned to a company. We have 2 engine companies, a ladder company, and then we have a rescue company. The rescue company is kind of made up of people from the other 3 companies, but basically you get assigned to one of the 3 companies. And one of those companies is the Goosetown station. That's engine company number 3. Engine company number 1 and truck company number 1 are both up at the main station. And that's where the rescue company is as well.
And maybe this is a simple question, but how many people are in the department total, and how many people are divided up into those different companies?
We have 42. We're a paramilitary organization. is what we are. So, we have 42 members. We have 3 chiefs, myself. We have a first assistant and a second assistant chief. We're all stationed up at the main station. And then each company, we try to have 13, 14 people on each company. 13 I consider a full company. I think currently we have 14 on engine company number 1. We have 13 on the ladder company, and then I think we have 12 down at engine company number 3.
And how many in the rescue squad?
Rescue squad, I believe there's about 12 of them.
Okay. Dave, what company do you keep?
I'm on the ladder.
Oh,
Ladder
great.
truck, yeah.
Oh, well, tell me the difference between I wanted to ask about the equipment in the fire department. When you talked about, being excited about being a firefighter, I just think it's such a thrill when those big pieces of equipment come down the street in the parades. So, tell me about the ladder company and the equipment that they use.
Yeah, so each vehicle, or I should say engine or truck, they have their own specific duties that they need to do. Like the engine, they generally do hose work. They hook up the hydrant, they'll put the fire out, but then the truck company, the one that I'm a part of, they're known for forcible entry, ventilation, and search and rescue, and then obviously anything with ladders.
Okay.
But everyone is trained to know all of that stuff, but we generally just specialize in that. But we'll also help, the engine truck will get there, and then the ladder truck, they'll be the second team waiting to rush in.
Okay, great. I'll ask you this later, but I have just such a distinct recollection of the AMPI audit plant fire and the ladder, hanging over, trying to put out this grease fire. Oh my God, Oh my God. I'll ask you this: how long do people typically stay with the fire department? Is 40 years kind of the max, or?
Well, that's well, we just had Kevin Finstead retire, and he had 45 years.
Oh, right. So you've got a ways to go.
That's a little bit of an anomaly. It's really most of them will retire after 20 years.
Okay. And why? What is it about that 20 years?
Well, the 20-year mark is you're fully vested.
Okay.
The fire department, not only do they get paid per event, but they also get a retirement. Currently, that retirement sits at I think it's $57.50 per year that you're on. After 10 years, you're 40% vested, and then at 20 years in, you're fully vested.
When I was in city council, once a month or every other month, we went to the meeting where you talked about how that money is invested and that sort of thing. That's handled on a state level, or?
Well, that's handled within. That's
Okay.
handled by the,
All right.
what we call the Relief Association.
Okay.
Now, the Relief Association is part of the fire department, but it's its own entity. But we are governed by the rules of the state auditor. So, but we do our own investing and that kind of thing, so.
Okay. I was going to ask this. Now, the fire department, do you have specific duties within the city other than fighting fires? I know we talked a little bit earlier about the other departments in the city that you work with. Can you tell me, have you done any of that, or not much?
Well, as far as I guess they do a bunch of other things. I guess like you could.
Oh,
Could I ask for
I'll
a
let
question
Paul.
again?
I'll let Paul. Okay, I'll let Paul answer this because he's been doing this for 40
Right.
years. Okay, now you do other things. You interact with other departments in the city, right? You've got other
Duties.
duties and jobs. Like I said, I know that you do a certain amount of training and that sort of stuff. So can you talk about that?
Yeah, like we talked earlier about hazardous material, the fire department within the city of New Ulm is in charge of hazardous material. We're also in charge of search and rescue, according to the emergency manual. We also do water rescue. So those probably are the three main things besides firefighting that we take care of.
But you do some training too, right?
Yeah, we do some training. We do some training with the police department, like a active shooter type of thing. I meet with the chief once a month. We do emergency management meetings. So anytime we talk about things that we intertwine with, that we work pretty close with them. So.
And what about other fire departments? I know that you said that when you were doing some of your training, you had to go to North Mankato or do other things. How do you interact with other fire departments?
I guess I should say, because New Ulm probably doesn't reach that far. But as for training, I mean, we interact pretty well. We host other departments to come over. So the last, I believe, 4 or 5 recruits I went through, a lot of the training was in the New Ulm Fire Department.
Okay, right. So were those neighboring cities or?
Yeah, I believe Nicollet and Cortland
Okay.
made up
Yeah.
for most of those recruits.
Yeah, okay, close by.
The New Ulm Fire Department, not only do we serve the city of New Ulm, we also serve 5 townships that surround the city of New Ulm.
Okay.
We serve about 125 square mile territory. We serve 3 full townships in Brown County, which would be Cottonwood, Milford, and Siegel. And then in Nicollet County, we serve Lafayette and West Newton, partial of those townships. So we have mutual aid packages within the county with the other 4 departments in Brown County and the departments over in Nicollet County as well.
Okay. What's the best thing about joining the fire department?
For me, it's learning and like with those trainings that we have, you're always learning something new, rescue related or not. But then the second thing is the camaraderie that comes with it. It is truly a brotherhood, and it's a whole different type of family dynamic.
That's it. And would you agree with that, or?
Totally.
Okay.
I would agree with that. I
Yeah.
think there's always something new to learn.
Okay.
Whether you learn it within the department or whether you learn it when you go to school. And we encourage our firefighters to go to school outside of the fire department.
Okay.
Matter of fact, one of the requirements is that you have at least 8 hours of out-of-house training every 3 years. So you get to know the new things and how the other departments do things.
And Where do you learn this? Do you have to go to college, or do you do it online, or how do you do that?
Well, there's state schools, there's regional schools, and they have them all over. I used to do a lot over in Mankato, but Mankato has closed down their program, so now we affiliate ourselves with SACS.
SACS?
Yeah, that's kind of a private company
Okay.
that we contract when we have firefighters that need training. Sometimes we'll bring them in, and then sometimes they host what they call a state school. And lately they've been doing them down in Lake Crystal.
Okay.
We go to technical colleges in Faribault, in Austin, Alexandria.
Okay.
We send guys all the way up to Morris or some of those places. So
Sure.
we have them travel all over. The Chiefs Conference is all the way up in Duluth.
Okay.
So yeah, we try to make sure that these guys get out and get to see all the latest and greatest things that are going on.
Is it usually done as a group or individually, or?
It's whomever signs up. We have a board with all the different events and trainings offered, and it's whomever wants to sign up. Like I just went to one probably a couple months ago in Austin. It was advanced vehicle extrication. You learn different methods on how to open up vehicles depending on where the victim is or how the scenario is staged.
Okay. And what? That sounds scary. or wasn't it? You know. Well.
No, I mean obviously it wasn't a real life scenario.
Right.
So then you could actually take your time
Okay.
training, but having those extra trainings and all the extra trainings that we have at the fire station makes you really calm in those events when they actually happen.
Oh, that's interesting. My next question was going to be, what could you tell people about your experience in the fire department that might surprise them? And that surprises me, that you are describing yourself as in these difficult situations and you're calm.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, initially, if there's a car that's on fire or a building, it's not chaotic, but everyone's kind of scrambling to get everything out and ready to go. But once everything's ready, there's no pressure, there's no confusion on what people need to do.
Okay. What would you say to answer that question?
You know, I kind of agree with them. You know, everybody gets excited when they're getting to the fire, but once you start working, you know, then all that stuff comes back, and that's why we train as often as we do, so everything becomes second nature. So not only do you know what to do, but you're calm about it. We don't want people running, we don't want people excited, we want them just to do their job. And like David said, that's kind of what happens after a few years, you know. Obviously, your first couple of years, you're excited about everything, but eventually, you know, that's kind of the mode that you get into. So.
We talked earlier about the number of fire calls that you had last year, and you haven't had very many this year. Tell the folks about that.
Yeah, it varies. Of course, it goes up and down. It always seems like the fire calls come in threes.
Oh.
But last year we had in 23 we probably had the most fire calls that since I've been on. We had 146 runs. I think we had 23 calls in October alone. Of course, if you remember, it was kind of a dry fall, so we were kind of busy chasing fires out in the rural area. I'm hoping we get some rain here pretty soon because I think it could end up being the same way this fall, but knock on wood that those are at a minimum.
Right.
So.
Let's hope so.
But we average, on the average, it's probably about 125.
Okay.
Yeah, there was one day last year that we had 5 calls in a day.
No
And then
kidding.
one right after the other. When we were done wrapping up, pager went off and we were en route already.
Yeah.
Oh dear. Oh dear.
Of course, it was a really hot day too.
Yeah. Oh, of course, and all that gear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And all that gear.
Yeah, you sweat out bottles of water.
Yeah, great. Now, getting back to the requirements to join the fire department, do you have to live in New Ulm?
You have to live within 10 minutes drive legal drive of the firehouse.
Okay. So people could live outside the city
Absolutely,
limits,
and you know, when I first joined, it was 7 minutes because they would time from one end of town to or the other, and it was 7 minutes. Well, you know, once we, you know, recruitment wise, well, jeepers, what's another minute or 2 minutes or 3 minutes? You know, if we put it at 10 minutes, you know, I can have somebody that lives in any one of these townships that we serve be able to serve us. So that's why we extended it, and we found it to be just fine.
Oh, good. Now, I told my war story about the AMPI fire. You might not remember this, but I was on the city council and we were meeting down in the school. And, you know, we've got it's a budget meeting, so all the department heads are there, and all of a sudden, bing, one guy leaves, and bing, somebody else leaves, and all of a sudden, Tuttle says to me, "What the heck is going on here?" So we took a break and looked out and saw the smoke, and oh my goodness, that was quite a deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, quite a deal.
Yeah, I won't forget that one
No.
either.
Well, and you don't know this, but everybody's, so much equipment was ruined.
Yeah, I've heard stories about
Oh,
that.
yeah, it's worth talking about.
It's
I
hard
mean,
to wash that
everybody's,
out.
oh gosh, no, you don't want to go into a fire with grease on your pants.
No. I remember, I think all the departments that helped us that day, they lost quite a bit of equipment as well, and all the trucks needed to be serviced because all that butter got into everything.
Yeah.
I mean, jeepers, it took years for that smell to come out of the firehouse.
Oh, I believe it.
But we got through it. You know,
Oh, yeah.
there's over 40 years. You know, there's a lot of stories, a lot of good ones,
Oh.
a few bad ones.
Bad
but
ones.
you know,
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
the biggest thing is, and like he said, you know, everybody goes through it together, and we come out the other side just fine.
Why don't you tell folks that might not have been paying that much attention what the situation was when you switched from a volunteer to a full-time fire chief? What was it?
Okay, the kind of the
Yeah.
dynamics of it, you know, the fire chief's job, even as a volunteer, was really a lot of time. You'd spend a lot of nights there. Got called there a lot during the day. People do business during the day, so I was fortunate enough to work for public utilities where most of the time I could get away, but the duties and the obligations became more and more all the time. And right around 2014-15, there was a retirement. The building official retired, and that's where the inspections were seated. And at that time, they thought it might be better suited if it went to the fire department. This would be a good time maybe to make that fire chief's job a full-time position. And that's kind of how it all kind of migrated towards a full-time position, because Tuesdays and Thursdays of my week are spent inspecting rental units.
Did you have to take some additional training in order to do that?
Yeah, I'm certified with the National Fire Protection Association as a fire inspector. It was a test. Yeah, it took a lot of studying, and I had to take a test to get it, and I have to keep up so many training hours and so many hours of inspection.
So you go into an apartment, what are you looking for?
Oh gosh, when I go into an apartment, first part I go to would be the kitchen. I'm looking to make sure they don't store anything in or on top of their stove. I usually kind of make sure they don't have any throw rugs down, especially when I get into the assisted living parts and things like that. I make sure, of course, that there's smoke detectors are all working. There needs to be one in the common hallway. There needs to be one in each bedroom. There has to be a CO detector within 10 feet of all sleeping areas. If the building is sprinkled, there can't be anything obstructing any of the sprinkler heads, 18 inches around.
Don't paint them.
Don't paint them.
Don't paint 'em,
No,
no.
no, and don't stack anything around them. And then, of course, there's, each bedroom has to have a window that's a certain size for, not only for the individual to escape if they have to, it's also big enough so we can get in if we have
Oh,
to.
okay.
We make sure that there aren't any electrical cords being used. Now, we allow power strips, but no electrical cords. We make sure there aren't any of those, what they call power blocks, where you can plug 6 things into one little outlet, you know, that kind of thing. We make sure there aren't any wires anywhere, and then, of course, if we get into a full house or something like that, then, of course, it expands to a lot of other things, making sure that their, you know, furnace or their appliances are all in working condition, they're vented properly, there's 2-foot clearance around them, we make sure that there's smoke alarms on every level, we make sure that the escapes are all in working order, that the back door and the front door aren't blocked, we make sure that the steps and there's handrails and all kinds of stuff, so.
Yeah, you're busy.
Yeah.
That's good, it's important.
Yeah, and we
It's
have
important.
about 1,700 units in town
That you need to inspect.
that we need to inspect, correct?
What do you see your future in the fire department as?
So I plan on staying on New Ulm for as long as I can, but if they ever went full-time, or if I could get a full-time job somewhere else, I would quit my job in a heartbeat.
Oh, that's
Do it
interesting.
full-time.
Yeah, right, right. Well, that's, and apparently you've always wanted to be a firefighter.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, right, that's wonderful, that's wonderful. Is there anything that we should tell, well, I know, what would you just, if someone's out there, and thinking about joining the fire department, what would you say to that person?
Go for it, 100%. It's life-changing, and I mean, it's a lot of work up front, but the memories and the experience, the family sense, you'll never get that anywhere else.
Well, that's wonderful. I think we'll end on that. Or you want to add
Nope,
something?
that sounds, you know, I couldn't add
better?
anything better to
Yeah,
that.
good, good, good. Well, thanks for listening. Thanks for coming in.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you, and thanks for your work. Thanks for your work. Good, good. All right.